third episode of the Regen podcast where we talk about teen related topics. I'm Joanne.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Hans.
And I'm Viv.
So, in today's episode, it will be a special episode. And if you haven't already picked up from our previous episodes, we'll be having a retreat next month during the school holidays. And the theme is going to be the devoted life.
Okay, so I don't know. For us, I guess retreat, well, we had one last year, but that was before Regen Z started. And that was actually when Regen Z started for the first time. That's where it was born. So, I don't know, for you guys, how did you guys feel? Just the general vibes for like retreat last year, teens retreat, like good, bad. What did you get from it? Maybe like the most memorable thing or what you learned.
I mean, okay. The retreat is like really, really like chill, but also there's a lot to learn from it, and there's a lot of sessions, and I got a lot from the sessions, especially like for my faith and for my growing and my relationship with God. So
Like what specifically?
specifically, so what was the theme for last
It
retreats?
was like
Five
Five
Lies.
Lies Teens
Five Lies
Believe.
Teens Believe, yeah. So I don't know. It like the sessions were based on different lies that teens believe, and do you guys remember what they were?
Yeah, that's like the truth was like the first one, and there was like social media and stuff.
And
And
then
like
sexuality
friends.
and I don't know,
What else?
the last one.
Just give something, just like one thing or something in general that
Okay.
was most stood out for you.
Well, what I remember is how the Bible is the absolute truth, and um we can't. I don't know how to explain it, but we have to base our belief on the Bible, and from the worldly views of this world. um yeah, it has to be based off the Bible. That's yeah.
Definitely, that's true. How about Vivienne or Joanne?
Okay, I think what I got also was like the thing about the absolute truth and about how in our like secular world, it's everyone has their own views and everyone holds on to their own truths. So, it's hard to find people who believe in the absolute truth of the Bible and in God. And I also learned that how the truth is only in God, who is 100% pure and holy. So yeah, we have to depend on him and to not be swayed by the other truths that, well, no, lies that the world feeds us.
Yeah.
I think like Joanne said, but for me it's like the experience, I guess, of having the community that we have where we know the truth. Because if we go out there, like there's other not truths that we're gonna
Lies.
lies that we're gonna come across. So I guess like the whole experience of having our own like church community and our friends with the same faith is like something that really stands out for me. And yeah, I guess that experience.
Yeah, I think like what's unique about us is, I don't know, for me, I don't think there's anywhere else that I've experienced where I can find a community where we can actually go deep into some truths that are like deep and like serious and are important and like mind opening, and I guess it's a pathway and a guidance for our whole lives, a whole worldview to put it that way. But at the same time, it's not like, I don't know, if you like imagine something to be like so serious as in like it's only for old people or whatever, like we still have fun. There was like fun games. We chucked water at each other. Yeah, became kids again. But yeah, so we have like that community aspect that, I mean, we have fun together, and those two, I guess, yeah, as a whole, it makes the experience unique, and that's why it's something that we want to keep going and move ahead with. And so, yeah, it's actually been a full circle. It's just a year and a bit because this one has been postponed to the next holidays. our last retreat was in the like summer break. But yeah, so Regen has been around for 1 year, and yeah, I guess for you guys, looking towards the next retreat with the theme, especially devoted life, what's sort of been on your mind? Yeah, and what have we been doing? Like, I guess, yeah, what have we been thinking about? What has Regen been preparing for? And what does the devoted life have to do with us?
So the devoted means that you're like giving your all to something, right? So the definition of devoted is to give all or most of one's time or resources to like a person or an activity. So I guess like devoting your life to God, I guess something that makes devoting your life to God different from like devoting your life to other things of the world is that when you devote your life to God, you have to be like willing and loyal and like happy to do it. Like, I guess if you're just devoting your life to something in life, like you're devoting your life to get the best grades in your school, you can do it because you're forced to do it, but you're not happy and you're not really willing either. But devoting your life to God means that you're doing it like with the heart of joy. And that reminded me of, you know, the chapter verse in Revelations about the lukewarm hot. So like if you're like devoted, it's like hot, right? And you have that zeal and fire. But if you're not devoted at all, then you're cold. So like God says, if you're lukewarm, neither hot or cold, he'll spit you out of his mouth. So like it just reminds us that like if we are devoted to God, it's like it's all or nothing. We can't just give like half of us.
Like looking back from last retreat, it's been like a year. And of course, like normally after retreats, we feel devoted. But I guess maybe we can like talk a bit. How has like the progress sort of been since then until now? Like with all the different ministries that we do as Regen Z and just our personal lives.
I mean, okay, so like generally after the retreat, we feel all like, yeah, let's go. We're so devoted into doing ministry and reading the Bible, and I don't know, you just have that different feeling, and it's just like hyped you up. Um, but after the retreat, like long after the retreat, maybe like after a few weeks, after a few months, um, it it will die down. Like that feeling, that zealousness, it will die down. And for me, I felt like that as well. Like after the retreat, we did a lot of like learning and Bible reading, and I would go back onto my notes and read again what I did, what I learned, and uh, and I don't know, I'll be devoted into reading the Bible more and um, delving into it. But after a while, it would slowly like get. I would be less motivated to do such, and I would also be more uh like I would get more busy with school, more busy with um ministry, even though like it might be like contradicting where ministry is doing things, um but it would distract me from that zeal and from that passion I had to read the Bible. And so um having a devoted life is is yeah, is it's like devoting yourself uh to like what the definition is, what the definition said was devoting your life to one thing. And so the big question that we can ask ourselves as well is like, what is that thing that we devote ourselves to? And so yeah.
Yeah, continuing on with the point about ministry, I feel like in the past year we've obviously done a lot. Like we've built our own website and like we've launched social media, we've made videos, and now we're like planning for this retreat. But
And the podcast,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
forget
and the
our
podcast
podcast.
and our podcast. But I feel like sometimes in the busyness we like get caught up in that, and we maybe don't pay much attention to like our personal lives as well, and like our own time with God, because I feel like after our retreat everyone is definitely more zealous and like willing to sort of serve in ministry, everyone still had that fire in them to like serve. But after a while, it just got like into a routine, I think. So I think it's a good thing to remind ourselves as well of that zeal that we have to keep um pushing and we have to persevere with it. It can't just be something that we get after the retreat and then it just dies down.
So like being devoted, right? We talked about being devoted to God, but like I don't know for you guys, what is it exactly like? Is it just being devoted to ministry, being devoted to Bible reading, being devoted to prayer? Like what is for you, like what is the essence of being devoted?
For me, I think it's like the state of heart or like mind. It's probably not really about the actions as much. I think when we think of like devoting, obviously we spend like all our energy and all our time on the one thing. But if our hearts are not like dedicated to that thing, then we aren't really devoting to that thing, even though we spend a lot of time on it. So like the same goes for devoting our time, well, devoting to God. We shouldn't just like say we're giving our time in ministry or serving him if our hearts really aren't doing everything for him and his glory.
I feel like that also like it's also um if your heart is devoted, then your actions will follow. As in if you're devoted in to God and your life is about serving him and glorifying him, then all the actions after that will follow in reflecting on what your heart is devoted to. So
I feel like when we think about a devoted life, we measure first like someone's ministry or how much they pray. So like we forget to realize that like yeah, like Jeremy said, it comes after. It's not the praying like if I pray and then I will become devoted, but it's if you give your heart to God first and then you're praying and you're reading the Bible, automatically you'll want to do it. So that comes with the devoted life.
Yeah, I think like maybe it's something good also for the way like we serve. It's been a year and there's been ups and downs, and I guess when people look from the outside, maybe they see us as bit like, oh look, these group of teens are different. They do a lot of things at church and they're sort of busy all the time with all these ministries. But I feel like that those sort of comments and those sort of outside ideas subconsciously also shapes the way we do ministry sometimes. Like yeah, we sometimes also just a bit too much on the outside. Like we have to do all these things and complete all these things so that we look devoted on the outside. But yeah, being devoted is not really that. And in the end, like if we want to be devoted, then if our goal was just to like, okay, I'll try harder and be able to, split my time well between my school and my ministry and my prayer life and my reading the Bible life and all these different compartments of our lives. I think in the end, like we will just die out. Like we'll fail because I feel um like in my own walk of faith, God has taught me that it's not about my own efforts, but that in the end it's about God who is the one who is devoted to us. Is the one who changes us, and He's the one who's faithful. So from the beginning, He loved us, and until now, He continues to work in us to change our sinful ways, to give us new lives, changed hearts that were before devoted for the world and for ourselves, and He's changed our hearts so that our hearts are devoted to Him. So for me, like the devoted life is not so much about what we do, about what we try, but being able to see what God does. And so, yeah, I don't know. In our own personal reflections and walks with faith, how has this sort of perspective grown on us through our ministries, through, I don't know, the way we, like, through the moments when we have like Bible studies together or whatever in church or whatever?
okay, so I can share about when we were shooting for a film. We're shooting for a film, a regen production. And so to shoot, we had to. It's in a school setting, and we had to find a school that we could film in. And so um, if you don't know, finding a whole school to film in is quite hard, and would be quite expensive. But I see like God has led this ministry, and so at the end, we were able to hire a school. Well, not hire actually, because we didn't have to pay anything. Um, we got to film at a Christian school, and um, they let us use all the facilities, and I just see like out of like it's I don't know how to explain, but it's hard to do this, but God let our team and this ministry to be able to film, and also how we've planned the film dates, and we've set everything, and it was set to rain, and we can't film in the rain, and so it was something troublesome for the team, and so when we got there, um, we just prayed and hoped that God was able to lead us, and He did, and so the weather was perfect, and weather was um, the weather the weather was good, and we were able to film, and right after we finished, it started raining again, and I just it's really obvious how God has led everything, and it's happened countless times in other ministries as well, how God has shown his faithfulness and shown his glory. So, yeah. Continuing on, what hinders us from devoting our lives as teens in this world, in our society?
Okay, I feel like as teens we don't feel like knowing God is like our top priority, because I feel like in this environment that we have, maybe at school or online, we don't really see like the need of having God in our lives and like someone to rely on, because I feel like we're like independent and we feel like we don't need someone to rely on because we can do this all ourselves, right?
Mm. I think also because we're teens, like living in this generation, it's so easy to be like swayed by the world's ideals and what other people around us are thinking and doing. I think like because we live in the world, but we're also of God's kingdom, and so like just the tension between like deciding whether to go with the flow of the world or um towards the kingdom of God is, I think, something that we find really difficult, especially because a lot of our friends, like in our schools and our community, sort of have the have a different worldview than us and don't put God, like as Vivian said, as high as a priority as we should be. And I think a lot of teens are still not willing to give um their teen years to God because they think that like, oh, this is the time for us to have fun before we grow up and like become adults and take on all the responsibilities. So I think in theory, even though like as Christians, we know that we should be devoting our lives to God, but sometimes it's really hard to give our whole lives to God and our whole hearts to Him.
Yeah. I feel like I'm also struggling with that, as in like we do all this ministry, and we're like we're wrapped around like this whole Christian community, and then we say, and we theoretically know, we're told over and over again, like we have to devote our lives to God, we have to devote our whole lives, and um in everything that we do, but it's kind of hard um to put in everything, um include like everything for God, and yeah, so
Yeah, seeing like us especially, I think, yeah, it's like people who like we all need to devote our lives to God, whether we grew up in the church or whether we didn't. But yeah, especially for us, like who actually knows what a devoted life really is? Like it's very like it's confusing even for us. even though we do a lot of ministries and stuff, like you can see, like it's like this paradox. Like even in like the most advanced churches, for example, like throughout church history, you see, like, for example, like the Roman Catholic Church, it got like super big. But then in the end, were the leaders devoted to God? Like, it went into corruption in the time of like Martin Luther. And they weren't devoted to God, they were devoted to money. But they put on so much religious facade. And I feel like that sometimes can also become a trap for us, and we feel like we're doing all these ministries to devote our lives to God, but actually, like, we're just devoting ourselves to a good reputation in front of church people, or a good reputation in front of our parents, or whatever. And so, yeah, we're not actually really devoted. And if we think deeper about it, like, in the end, who can devote their lives to God? Because that's not something that a person can do. Like, our sinful inclination is to devote ourselves to other idols, to other gods, and we would never devote our lives to the true God. And so, yeah, it's only by God's grace that we can really learn what it means to surrender our lives to God, because once again, it's not us, it's God's grace that comes and, uh, yeah, comes and changes us. Um, but I think one principle that is universal and can be applied for all people, whether we grew up in church or whether we didn't, is that Jesus calls those who humbly seek Him, and when we do humbly seek Him, Jesus never rejects us or casts us out. I don't know. I want to finish maybe with two verses that I'm reminded of. The first one is from Jeremiah 29. This is what God says in His Word.
Actual physical Bible. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, so it says, "Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and all the places where I have driven you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back to the place from which I sent you into exile." And this was about the time when the Israelites were sent out into exile for all their rebellion. But God still says, if you seek me with your whole heart, you'll be able to come back to me. And one last verse, Jesus' own words in John 6, verse 37. Jesus says, "All that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never cast out." And so, yeah, how can we devote our lives to God? I guess just starts with a humble heart that wants to pray and, yeah, give ourselves to God, even though we don't know how to or what it's going to look like, but just to surrender ourselves in humility.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I guess it might still be confusing for us and confusing for you. And so I recommend you to come to our retreat. And how can we register?
It's up on our website,
Dot org.
regenerationz.org/retreat.
Yeah, there's also like information up on the website and on our Instagram if you would like to check that out.
The registration closes on the 3rd of April, so be sure to register quickly if you want to come. Invite your friends as well. And yeah, you got to hang out with us. We promise it'll be fun because I
It will.
also am part of the games team and the games are very fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these people don't know about the games, so
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah. Okay, so when is the retreat?
It's in the April school holidays from the 17th to 20th of April.
Oh, and we can't forget that if you come to a retreat, you can get yourselves one of these really high quality, amazing hoodies. And I don't know which camera to look at. This one. Ready? Oh, this one. Okay. Look at this. High quality, we're all wearing them. You can go pick yourselves one up. Pick up one of the hoodies for yourselves. if you come to the retreat. So, yeah. Anything else?
No, I guess that wraps up this episode, our special episode on the devoted life. So yeah, we hope to see you in retreat, and that's all for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.